is Ken Hodgson, coming to you again to talk about the effects of PTSD and childhood sexual abuse. Today's subject is depression. It's going to be a little bit longer than usual because it's a big subject and because I want to share just a little about my story. And also just to let you know that uh, I'm working on getting better recordings and better volume. I have no knowledge of how to do any of this stuff, but I do have people that are helping me, and so there'll be better recordings and be able to record in different places. Uh, so bear with me. I appreciate that, and I just want to be able to give back and to reach people that are in those hard to reach places, wherever you are in the world, and wherever you're at emotionally, spiritually, physically. So here we go. So depression, which it affects everybody differently, but I do believe with all these issues there is certain things that we can all identify with, and that is all similar. So I know for me the first big thing was getting over my denial. For looking back on it now, it's embarrassing how long I denied that I was depressed. I mean, not just I know I was bummed out. I know I had a lot of emotional pain, just because of all the things I've seen and been involved with over the last many years, especially traveling abroad around the world, and the subject matter that I dealt with between working with governments, police, and the child trafficking issue. Uh, that alone right there uh, had a huge impact on my life. But I never could accept the fact that I was depressed, clinically depressed, and needed a lot of help. Uh, so once I realized that and accepted that, when you accept something, when you acknowledge something, that's when you can begin to learn and understand. You can receive a lot more help uh, because you're not denying it. If you don't believe you have it, there's no reason to get help. And I know for me, there's a lot of reasons why I did that. And some of the obvious ones was I've been a pastor slash missionary my whole adult life, really. And that for me, that meant I failed everybody. I was broken, wasn't any good. So that helped in me denying things. A lot of people had held me up, and God had used me in a lot of people's lives here and around the world. So it was difficult to admit I needed help. My upbringing had something to do with it, just, not wanting to be wrong. And how I grew up, I have dyslexia also. So, I was made fun of a lot. Uh, I had a lot of insecurities with not being good enough. And this just was one of those big ones that says, it's true, you're not good enough. And so I really struggled with but like I said, once you accept it, once you admit it, and here's the slash back on admitting it, then sometimes you can feel, that you're weak, you're no good. Like I felt I failed, I wasn't any good, I did something wrong, I must have done something wrong if I was depressed, and I couldn't think of what I did wrong, to be as depressed as I was, and how the feelings of shame and guilt that I had were so incredibly strong that it ruled my life. And so uh, admittance, just, and then that turns into acceptance, turns into learning, turns into healing, turns into all of us getting out of depression and these other issues. So uh, the next thing was uh, feeling abandoned. There was one day, and again, so much time had passed, that I realized no one's coming to rescue me. There's nobody riding in to pick me up and make everything better. It just wasn't going to happen. Again, on this was the good thing about this is I realized that there is help around me, but I have to help myself. I have to begin to face all my fears, all that pain, from adulthood, from childhood. I had to do that, and that was incredibly difficult to do. And once I did, I mean, the beginning was terrible because the pain just flooded in. It's just, and I was already in a lot of pain and a lot of fear. But when I opened all those doors willingly, it just flooded, and my body went crazy with memories of. They say the body keeps a score, but mine kept a very good score with just about everything I've been through, and I felt it. And of course, I've been, stuffing all this stuff, and that the first event in my life, that the sexual assault issue, I just buried that so deep. I just denied anything like that ever happened to me. I admitted to some things, but nothing to what really happened. So when, like I said earlier, after a couple of years of counseling, as we uh, unlayered my pain and my sorrow, and that deep pool of yuckiness and fear and all the things that go with it, I got to that sexual assault, and I did remember, and it was it was bad. So uh, climbing out of that hole is so difficult because, like, no one's coming to rescue me. No one's going to climb inside your depression and like be able to look you in the face. They can look at you, but you're on one side, they're on the other. But don't be discouraged with that, because you can get out of this, and I know you can. You can make it, and it's just realizing some of this stuff, taking the right steps. Um, they don't have to be a bunch of steps. Just continue to do the next right thing. So the next big thing was when I felt like God had abandoned me, God had left me, God had taken His hand off of me, which that's when I really felt I had done something wrong. I couldn't feel the power. I couldn't feel God very much. I mean, it wasn't like He completely vanished. I knew He loved me. I knew I was going to heaven, but that energy, that power, the intense love I had felt prior to all this, I couldn't feel it, and I couldn't experience it, and it wasn't really helping me. And I begged for God to heal me, to bring peace over my life, and it didn't happen. And I literally felt I was being tortured day and night for months and months on end. And you know that's no exaggeration. I have been through a lot of pain in my life, starting very young, and the pain I went through, uh, dealing with these layers of trauma, were it surpasses everything I've been through to this day. Um, and the confusion that it left me, and some of the memory loss I had, and just not being able to understand what's going on and why is this happening, for the physical pain, the emotional pain, the spiritual pain. But I did feel like God had left me. Now I know today that He didn't. I know that He gave me the strength and put the right people around me to help me get through dealing and healing from these emotional traumas and physical traumas that I've been through. And they gave me that inner strength to not give up when depression was at its darkest. And I went through a time where I asked God to give me a heart attack or give me a stroke, I mean anything to get out of the pain I was in. I couldn't take it, and I felt bad about that I wasn't that man, that guy who could just praise God through anything. I couldn't do it. I just wanted out. I wanted the pain to stop, and willing to do anything except face it and trust that I'm going to get through it. But God is so faithful. He is so faithful and so loving that it didn't make Him mad that I couldn't trust, that the pain and agony had overwhelmed me, and I couldn't deal with it. And here's another part: if you've experienced sexual abuse in your childhood, is oftentimes, and I don't know if it's always, but oftentimes you'll have a younger part or a younger emotion around you or in you, and that happened to me. A younger part came out, um, and that side of me really didn't know God like the adult side of me knew God, which I knew all this stuff. I had worked with people that had this going on, and I understood it that way. But to experience it myself, it was it was weird. It was fascinating. It was crazy. I couldn't seem to control that younger part for months on end. Again, none of these things happen in a day or two for me. It just goes on for months on end, and no relief in sight. No, but like I said earlier, you got to keep on doing what's right. You got to keep on. It's like exercising, working out, or anything, learning a new computer. At first, it just doesn't go right. You don't get the results you want at first. But if you keep exercising that muscle, eventually it'll get strong, and it'll get strong in the right way, because all those emotional, spiritual muscles can get really strong but go in the wrong way. And one thing I used to say, and I still say it today, is emotion is just an emotion. It doesn't mean it's real, doesn't mean it's true, but it feels real, it feels true. And and that's one of those things you have to keep exercising your mind and figure out what is true. Not what do I feel, but what is really true. Because if you feel unloved, if you feel ugly, then pretty soon you're going to believe that, and the lie will become the truth. And we have to replace the truth. We have to replace the lie with the truth, but it's not going to feel right at first. So you got to keep hanging in there and keep trying it and working it and working it. So those three big things right there took a couple of years to reach, get through, and begin to climb out of this dark hole of depression and all the craziness that goes with it. Um, and again, I know depression affects everybody differently, and I also know this from experience it myself, and also dealing with depressed people, is it's if you're not going through depression, or you haven't been depressed, then it's hard to relate or to understand, and it's easy to get rejected, or people don't ask the right questions, they don't approach you the right way, and you close up. So it's complex, and it's a big issue. But don't quit. Don't keep seeking help. Don't keep working on yourself. Don't settle with this is the way it is. This is how my life's going to be. That's hogwash. That's a lie. Replace it with the truth, because you can defeat this. You got to make it a good day. You have to create good things in your life, and you can do that, and God will give you the strength. And one last thing is King David, the writer of the Psalms. There's a man that had gone through all kinds of trauma in his early adult to middle adulthood, uh, and didn't seem to do anything wrong, just suffered so many unjust things, and at the calling of God Himself and the people in the beginning. Um, so he's considered a friend of God. He's considered one of the most godliest men in the Bible. He's also one of the most human men in the Bible. He was very real. He got depressed. He thought God had abandoned him. He cried out. He accused God in those early years. And interesting enough, when he knew God was with him, is when he made some major mistakes. I don't really see of any mistakes he made in those early years, except feeling depressed and abandoned. He was disturbed and moved by his circumstances, and lack of emotional feeling that God was there with him. And that's kind of what I went through, is just this, I can't feel God. I emotionally can't experience God like I used to. And so I came to that same conclusion, and got angry at God, and then asked all kinds of ways out, as I expressed earlier. But God, again, was never mad. He's not mad at you. And I would like to speak out to those of you that don't even know God, and know His Son Jesus Christ, and that don't push Him out. Don't ignore that He's there. He is there, and begin to have an open mind towards what is God doing in your life, and how can He help you? How can He help your healing, give you strength to get through things that's supernatural? And those of you that are mad at God or have pushed God out, it's okay. God can take the heat, and there is no relationship that I've ever been in that I'm not mad at a person in that relationship. Um, And God does take a lot of blame. I think He takes more blame than Satan does for things that go wrong. But He didn't do anything personally to you. He didn't. He's not a mean God. He's not. He can't sin against us. He's not going to make bad things happen to us. That's living in a fallen world, a corrupt and evil world. That evil does happen. But He does and promises He will never leave us and He will give us what we need. So hang in there, keep fighting, keep moving forward. Let me hear from you, and maybe we can talk something a little more encouraging for the next talk. So please hang in there and don't give up, no matter where you're at or how bad things are going. Don't give up. Know that there are many others going through very similar things that you are. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You can make it. Have a great day somehow, some way. Make it a great day. All right. See ya.